Hello and welcome to Kashmir University's weekly video digest quiz. First, the highlights. 7-day workshop on management skill modules concludes. Food Science and Technology organizes 2-day symposium. Professor Varun Sahani delivers a special lecture. Botany department organizes seminar on water and biodiversity. And Markaz-e-Noor organizes orientation program on translators. Now the details of these events with your host Sadaf Khurshid. Women's Studies Center organized a week-long workshop on management skills enhancement modules. The workshop was sponsored by UGC and National Consultative Committee for Capacity Building of Women Managers in Higher Education. The inaugural event of the workshop was held in the Gandhi Bhavan Conference Hall, which was presided by Dean Academics Affairs Professor A.M. Shah. Co-chairperson of CBWM in Higher Education, Professor Sushila Kaushik, said that future plans are being charted and research methodology module is one of them.
The most important one and the most enthusiastically it has been received is what we are going to be doing in the 12th plan called the research methodology workshops. This is research enhancement skills workshop, which is what we are thinking in terms of. So if that joins in, the university teachers will benefit even a lot more from this. So from awareness, we keep moving on to the skills. From skills, we will really become managers in the seats. And that will require a lot of research potentials.
Chairperson CBWM in Higher Education, Professor Amrit S. Desai, said that during past 10 years, they have learnt various skills which immensely benefited them in developing awareness and motivation among the participants.
That we have all learnt and grown in skills, knowledge and our attitudes. Not only the participants, but even those of us who have been conceptualizing and implementing the scheme, I would say all of us have been in this process. And for me, always, my field is social work. For me, process is very important. It's the process that gives you the outcome. And therefore, we have focused a lot on the process.
Dean Academics Affairs, Professor A.M. Shah, said that distinction between commercial and public organizations is fading, and this is where the role of manager becomes important.
Now organizations are facing a turbulent environment. We are witnessing a substantial change, significant change. Organizations have become chaotic. There are a number of challenges coming from different directions, so we need managers, well-trained, well-skilled, who can manage that.
On the valedictory day that was again held in Conference Hall of Gandhi Bhavan, Minister for Higher Education Mr. Muhammad Akbar Lone was the chief guest. Director Women's Studies Center Professor Nilafar Khan presented the welcome address.
A very fruitful workshop, and in fact, all the sessions were very participatory and again for the information of the dignitaries. This particular workshop had two modules. One was on how to manage finances in institutions of higher education.
Core Group Resource Person Professor Pam Rajput said that over 800 people have been trained in capacity building program in North region alone.
मुझे बड़ी खुशी होती है ये बात यहाँ शेयर करके लोन साहब की प्रेजेंस में कि हमने कोई 800 के करीब यूनिवर्सिटी और कॉलेज टीचर्स जो हैं इस प्रोग्राम के अंदर हमारे रीजन में, सिर्फ हमारे केले रीजन में इस कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग प्रोग्राम में वो हिस्सा ले चुके हैं.
Vice Chancellor University of Kashmir Professor Talat Ahmed said nearly 50% students of university are women and university is going to have all women post office in the campus.
We are going to have the first all women post office in the university here. So there are lots of things that we are trying as a group, to make stronger presence of women in different parts of the life, different walks of the life. The last convocation that we had, nearly 80% of the gold medal were backed by the women candidates.
Registrar Professor Zafar Ahmed Rishi said promotion of gender equality is one of the 8 Millennium Goals of UN.
Capacity building for women managers in higher education is something very important. It doesn't require basically any retardation. Reason is that promotion of gender equality and empowerment of women is one of the 8 Millennium Development Goals also, which has been accepted by 120 member nations of the United Nations, and they have pledged to achieve basically this by 2015.
Minister for Higher Education Mr. Mohammad Akbar Lone said that he does not believe in discrimination between men and women.
I am not of this opinion that anywhere there should be the discrimination between the two. Of course, you have a right. Woman has a right. You must fight for that. You have to come on in the politics. You see, this time also in our Jammu and Kashmir, we have so many women who are contesting the election and getting the vote of the people. And they are much better than the men legislators. Same is the case in every field. I am proud of this thing, that the woman from our state of Jammu and Kashmir is getting a very good positions in different fields.
Department of Food Science and Technology organized a 2-day symposium on the post-harvest management of fruits. The inaugural function was held in the Ibn Khaldun Auditorium. Coordinator, Department of Food Science and Technology, Professor F.A. Masoodi, in his inaugural remarks said that fruits are a big source of antioxidants.
Fruits are associated with reduced risk of many serious ailments like heart diseases, stroke, and so many other disorders. They are the rich sources of many antioxidants which play an important role in detoxification of many harmful components which are present in our body as a result of, say, food contamination or environmental contamination.
Dean Research Professor Khurshid Andrabi in his address said that quality-wise the apple produced in Kashmir are the best and they can help in increasing the economy of the state.
I have had to taste apples from all regions wherever they are produced, virtually, and have never seen apple taste as good as the Kashmiri apple does. Notwithstanding the fact that it's quality-wise really efficient, we have to really also acknowledge that this is apple and fruit industry in general is the backbone of our economy. I'm sure if we were to sort of employ the kind of technology Professor Masoodi has to offer, we would sort of not only benefit in terms of making the quality of the apple as good as it gets, but also at the same time sort of do a big service to the state for its potential to be economically much more viable than otherwise.
Registrar Professor Zafar Ahmed Rishi said Food Science and Technology Department must develop ways to utilize rotten apples that are seen in abundance during harvest season.
This is basically the challenge that the Food Science and Technology of our department has to accept, and then they have not to actually allow this apple to rot on the streets, isn't it? Instead, they could convert it into something of a product. And then, in turn, they could very easily somehow help these farmers, and then their economy also could be improved.
Dean, Faculty of Applied Science and Technology, Professor M.Y. Shah, said that conditions post-harvest is not conducive and department must do something for it.
My suggestion to this department is that they must now indulge in all those good manufacturing practices of the food technological practices. We have good crop cultivation practices, horticultural practices, good manufacturing practices. Likewise, they must adopt good food technology practices so far as their processing is concerned, the packaging is concerned, vis-a-vis the environment in which we are placed.
Advisor, Department of Biotechnology, Government of India, Mr. Rajesh Kapoor, said that food losses are cause of concern all over the world. He said conditions for losses vary from region to region.
If we focus with reference to this region, it is basically your fungal attack. Whether if you come out with your prime produce, that is the apple, which has about, I was discussing with Professor Andrabi, more than 30% of the post-harvest losses. Why? It is your fungal. And from where does the fungi come? It is because of the moisture. So is the case with your dry fruits. You have a lot of aflatoxin problem. From where does the aflatoxin come? It comes from a fungus. And from where does the fungus come? It comes from moisture. Which means your first step is, how do you store them? In a relative humidity-free, moisture-free chamber. If you do that, I'm sure 50% of this problem is addressed.
Assistant Professor Dr. Sajjad Muhammad Wani proposed vote of thanks. Department of Political Science celebrated its Golden Jubilee year. On this occasion, they organized a one-day seminar in Gandhi Bhavan. Senior faculty of the department, Professor Noor Ahmed Baba, presented the inaugural address.
During these 15 years, department has progressed to become one of the largest and leading departments of the university and of the Faculty of Social Sciences. Generations of teachers, research scholars, students have contributed to its growing stature and strength. In 1963, the department was established under the stewardship of Professor Satyabhushan, who headed it from 1963 and somewhere 1967.
Former Vice-Chancellor of Jammu University and Faculty of School of International Studies, JNU, Professor Varun Sahani, delivered a keynote address. Delivering his keynote address on hegemony, globalization, and the future of world politics, Professor Sahani said that social sciences has three notions for hegemony.
The first of these is a sense of military preponderance. This is the notion that comes out from a study of the Peloponnesian Wars. The second is the provision of global public goods. That is the sense of hegemony that comes out from the work by Kindleberger. And finally, manufacturing consent. That is the notion of hegemony that comes out of Gramsci. And I will suggest to you that we need to look at all three of them together. Only when we look at all of them together do we get a true sense of power.
Professor Sahani said that in relation to international politics, dominant power deploys both military and ideological resources.
What do these ideological resources do? They structure the choices and the behaviors of all the other powers in the system, all the lesser states in the system. And they structure them in a way that these states start behaving in a manner that favors the interests of the most powerful state. And what is the most important interest of the most powerful state? It is to continue to remain the most powerful state.
Dean Academics Affairs, Professor A.M. Shah, while lauding the lecture of Professor Sahani, said that Department of Political Science is getting more applicants in social sciences than in any other department.
Definitely it may be because of two reasons. One reason is department has worked very hard and department has earned a brand name, what we call in management a brand name. Plus other thing is also there, that is earlier 30 years back we have no idea what is the politics, what exactly who is voting or who is not voting, how the people get selected. But now for the last, I believe, especially 20-25 years, we have also understood that what is the power of politics and how things go this way or that way. And it is also that basically our younger generation is now coming forward and in fact accepting this assignment.
Dean Social Sciences Professor Muhammad Ashraf Wani, while congratulating the department for completing 50 years of its existence, said that success must not take away focus on introspection.
We have to ask a question to ourselves whether we have moved from progress to progress, which is apparently a normal course of the history of human civilization. We have to ask a question to ourselves, how much progress we made since the late 80s of the 20th century. If there have been any limitation in that, we have to correct that.
Scholar Mr. Mushtaq Skandar conducted the proceedings of the seminar. Department of Botany organized a one-day seminar on the theme Water and Biodiversity. Vice Chancellor Professor Talat Ahmed, while delivering his keynote address, said that it's important to aware people and students, other than those associated with science, the importance of biodiversity.
There has to be some area where we should have arrangement of putting posters. We see as a scientist, I never thought that we should have our biodiversity poster put in the humanities block, but that is going to be more useful than our own students seeing that.
Dean Academic Affairs Professor A.M. Shah said that global warming is happening and one has to take responsibility for what is going around him.
4 years I have been observing one thing. During this winter, if you see, there was an extreme winter. It was very cold and minus temperature, especially during the month of January. What I observed, you see normally, for example, we have the buildings and there are some shaded areas. Other side wherein the sun is not going, that there is snow. I could see, despite for the whole month of January, there were icicles. The snow was not melting on the roof, but it was melting on the earth. This speaks that there is not only global warming, this is affecting the system in this way, despite the fact snow is not melting on the roof because it's a minus temperature during the day as well.
Registrar Professor Zafar Ahmed Rishi in his address said that it's dangerous to tamper with local environmental conditions, and Dal is primary example of that.
What has happened because of this, that you have one single species dominating whole of lake at the cost of the other species, isn't it? Which were very prized species. Now this is what can happen to biodiversity if you alter the habitat conditions, particularly the water being a very homogeneous system, that if you introduce a change, it will very easily, rapidly basically, isn't it, escalate to other parts, and then ultimately you are going to have a sort of a homogeneous system.
Assistant Professor Dr. Manzoor Ahmad Shah proposed vote of thanks.
Biodiversity is the beautiful art of nature on this planet Earth. And according to Nietzsche, the essence of all beautiful art and all great art is gratitude. And it's my privilege to express gratitude and thanks to all, one and all, who contributed to the successful conduct of this event.
Markaz-e-Noor Center for Sheikhul Alam Studies, in collaboration with National Translation Mission, organized orientation program on translators. The inaugural function was held in the Markaz auditorium. Professor Shad Ramzan presented the welcome address.
कि शायद जो सर से हिंदुस्तानस मज कशीरी सजाए सर से हिंदुस्तानस मज संस्कृत की बदौलत ये जन तर्जमकारी हुंद सिलसिल शुरू हो यानी 5,000 वरी ब्रोह ति कशीर ज़बान हज तिम ऐसी किताब यम जन तव असन मौजूद मगर तर्जमे सपोदमुत दरअसल चाहे ऐसे पाली ज़बान मज बेहद कथा या मिलन पन्हन वंकन सु दरअसल सु तर्जमा.
Resource person of NTM, Dr. Muhammad Anwar, briefed the audience about working nature of the organization.
नेशनल ट्रांसलेशन मिशन का जो ओरिजिन हुआ है वो नेशनल नॉलेज कमीशन की सिफारिशात की बिना पे उन्होंने सिफारिशात की थी कि हिंदुस्तान में एक ऐसा इदारा, एक ऐसा मिशन होना चाहिए जिसके ज़रिए से जो मुख्तलिफ़ अलूम की मालूमात है या मुख्तलिफ़ मतन के जो इल्म है उसको डिसमिनेट किया जाए.
Former Dean Arts Professor Zaman Azurda said that it's strange that NTM has not found a suitable translator in Kashmiri language.
Can you imagine कि NTM में इतना डोगरी का भी काम कर रहा है जो अभी 6 साल पहले 8 शेड्यूल में शामिल हुई, लेकिन कश्मीरी का बंदा अवेलेबल नहीं है. हमने कितने लोगों से कहा कि अप्लाई करो, आ जाओ, लेकिन अवेलेबल नहीं है. चुनाचे NTS जो काम कर रहा है, नेशनल टेस्टिंग एंड इवैल्यूएशन सेंटर, हमारा करोड़ों रुपया खर्च होता है, लेकिन अभी तक हम बहुत पेशरफ्त नहीं हो पाई है.
Dean Academic Affairs Professor A.M. Shah said that today Kashmiri language is being taught in schools, which will enable the young generation to learn their culture in a better way.
अंग्रेजी का सब्जेक्ट जो है ये लाजमी है. कभी कभी मैं भी सोचता था, जबकि हम एक ज़माने में सोचते इसकी ज़रूरत है कि नहीं ज़रूरत है, मगर अब हम जब से ये 10-12 साल से चल रहा है, अब हम ये रियलाइज़ कर रहे हैं कि जो हमारे नए बच्चे आ रहे हैं कम से कम कश्मीरी तो पढ़ सकते हैं, कश्मीरी तो लिख सकते हैं, वरन ये होता कि वक्त आ जाता कि जो ग्लोबलाइजेशन का अंग्रेजी का जबान का खासकर जिसका इम्पैक्ट ज़्यादा रहा, पहले उर्दू का था फिर यहाँ पर अंग्रेजी का आया, ऑनस्लॉट ऐसा होता कि हम भी ये कश्मीरी जबान जो है भूल जाते.
Chairman Markaz-e-Noor, Professor Bashar Bashir, said that the translation of the centuries-old Reshnama of the Baba Nasiruddin Ghazi has been completed and will be released soon. The month-long refresher course in Basic and Applied Sciences organized by Academic Staff College concluded. Chief Information Commissioner Mr. G.R. Sophie delivered a special lecture on the occasion. He advised participants to make full use of RTI. He said that the usage of RTI is gaining ground in Kashmir, but it should not be confined to a particular section of the society. With this, we come to the end of today's program. Log on to our website emmrckashmir.com. Mail your feedback to our address quest@emmrckashmir.com. Before I take your leave, here are few words of wisdom. Teaching is not a lost art, but the regard for it is a lost tradition.